How's it going, everyone? It is I, Anime Outlet, and this is part 3 of What If Deku Was a Phoenix. And now, before we begin, I would just like to tell you all that I will be responding to every single comment down in the comment section below, so if you have any questions, what if suggestions for me that you would like me to know, read, or just hear, please comment them down below. So now, let's begin. Sorry, Mineta, that's just what's gonna happen. You gotta go down to Class 1B, or you can just leave the school. That's always an option. Remember, you can always be moved back up into Class 1A. You just have to prove you're worthy of being in Class 1A, of course. Fine, I guess I just should go down to Class 1B. Mineta would say, just with a walk of shame back to Nezu's office door, where he would then walk out of school, waiting for the next day of school with his new class of Class 1B. As we now end up cutting a couple weeks in the future, with all the classes now situated and doing work, finally the hero class would finally commence, having its first ever class date. As all of the students would be sitting bored in class, waiting for the bell to ring, as the bell would finally ring, they would remain seated, as all of a sudden they would hear stomping from down the halls. Right as the stomping would get closer, closer, and closer, the door would be slammed open, as there in all his glory would stand a shining yellow figure that happened to just be the #1 hero, All Might. As All Might would be standing there, you would end up giving off a bright big smile before laughing. Good morning, Class 1A. I suppose it's a good time to tell you, I'm going to be your hero teacher for the next 3 years, so you better get used to this face, he would say, pointing towards his smile, before walking over to the front of the board. So, thanks to the gracious support course, we all have our hero costumes already, All Might would say, clicking a button, as all of a sudden briefcases would start coming out of the wall with names on each of the briefcases. So in an orderly fashion, come pick up your briefcase and then go back to your seats. These will be your hero costumes, or for now at least, he would say, as Izuku would walk up to his suitcase, picking it up before walking back. Suzuki would end up sitting down, end up having sort of like his hero costume would kind of be sort of mimicking like the old style of just fighter jackets that sort like say someone in the Air Force from like the 40s might have worn, or something like that, kind of mimicking the looks of Hawks' hero outfit, but with a little more of Izuku's flavor and style mixed into it. So with Izuku having his hero costume, they would then be directed down to the locker rooms to get changed before heading over to where All Might was, as All Might would then explain to them what they were going to be doing just in the next hour. So class, today we are going to be doing your first hero assignment. It's going to be called a Heroes versus Villains. This is to judge your awareness of your surroundings as of right now, just so we know how much we have to teach you on just being aware while in the line of duty. So with that, let's begin with the instructions. There's going to be 2 teams of 2, 1 team heroes, 1 team villains. The villains will hide a device, which the heroes, in order to win, will have to go in and touch the device or capture both of the villains. They will have a 15-minute time period to do so, while the villains, on the other hand, have the 15-minute time period to stop the heroes from touching the device or capture both of the heroes. So, with that out of the way, let's begin with teams. First team, Izuku and Bakugo versus Todoroki and Momo. Alright, Izuku and Bakugo, your team will be the villains, and Todoroki and Momo, your team will be the heroes. So villains, go inside, hide the device, and you will have 5 minutes to do so. I suggest you hurry up, All Might would say, as heroes would rush into the building, where they would then the villains would rush into the building, grabbing the device and hiding it on the top floor. Right as the 5 minutes would be up, Bakugo would walk over to the top floor door, slamming it open before walking out, turning back to Izuku. You better not fail this. I'd hate to lose. If we end up losing because of you, I'll just have to smash your face in. I don't like to lose, got it? Bakugo would say in a cold voice as Izuku would only shake his head. Yeah, I got it. You can go do whatever, I guess, Izuku would say, before he would end up lying on the floor with his ear down to the ground, as he would then shut his eyes, drifting off into just the boundless escape that was sleeping. So his Bakugo would be rushing around the building, constantly turning corners with an angry expression on his face, searching for Half and Half and Momo. So finally, he would end up turning a corner with his sparks flying, as he just felt like he should have his quirk at the ready. As he would turn a corner with his sparks flying, 2 explosions would be heard, with both of them being slammed right into the face of both Todoroki and Momo. As both of these explosions would land, both Todoroki and Momo would be sent flying backwards, slamming into one of the walls behind them. With them now being slammed into the wall, Todoroki would get up quicker than Momo, rushing towards Bakugo, slamming a fire fist right into Bakugo's side of the head. However, Bakugo wouldn't be fazed by this, merely just staring on at him, slamming 2 explosions into the side of Todoroki, as Bakugo's thirst for winning took a hold, not allowing him to go down. Todoroki would continue on slamming on the damage to Bakugo. So when Todoroki would be sent flying backwards and Momo would finally get up with her bow staff created, as Momo would rush in, slamming the bow staff right onto Bakugo's head, as Bakugo would end up falling to the floor, as it would end up continue moving on, leaving the just what looked to be unconscious Bakugo onto the floor. As Izuku's ear would remain on the floor, he would continue this sleeping expression, as all of a sudden he would end up hearing the door open, but would continue his sleeping just persona. As you would hear the footsteps of them get closer and closer, all of a sudden his wings would start to just jolt and would start moving, as feathers would launch out of them, now as hard as spikes, launching on right towards Momo, who was slowly stepping towards the device, as Izuku's feather would narrowly miss Momo's chest, as Momo would stare on at it in just complete shock. She was just seconds away from touching the feather. If she was only a few seconds sooner, she would have gotten hit. However, right as this would happen, Izuku would jolt up with his wings now fully spread, shining a very bright light right at Momo. So his wings would then slam down into the floor, as lava would start to spew out of Izuku's wings, as the hot substance would start to burn through the floor, causing basically the entire half of the room that Izuku was facing to be completely destroyed, as Momo would fall down to the 4th floor, and then the 3rd. Todoroki, seeing this, would create an ice path for him to get past. However, Izuku wouldn't be having this, slamming his wings into the ice path, causing for it to just be completely destroyed. So with all of that just being completely destroyed, Todoroki would know he really had no chance unless he were to jump across, which he knew wasn't going to happen since Izuku would have the flying quirk, and so he wasn't going to be able to just jump across when Izuku could just fly for and smack him out of the way down to the 3rd floor. So Izuku, with his wings flapping in the wind, would be staring at Todoroki, waiting for him to just do something, as Todoroki would then show his palm of his hand right towards Izuku, as flames would start to spark out of it, as flames would then flail on in a just sort of a cyclone-like motion on towards Izuku. As Izuku would shield himself and body with his wings, would end up looking back to see Todoroki jumping, using his flames as a mere distraction. However, before that could happen, Bakugo would appear out of nowhere, slamming his fist right into the side of Todoroki's head, as an explosion would be right there to Todoroki's stomach, sending him right through the ceiling of the building, where Todoroki would end up falling down onto the roof of it. As Bakugo would end up looking back towards Izuku, Bakugo would only just shake his head. Ah, come on, Izuku. I told you not to let us fail. I'd really hate it if I'd have to punish you for letting us fail like something like that. It was obvious he was going to use his flames as a distraction. Izuku would glare towards Bakugo, just sort of hating the cocky attitude that Bakugo had just donned on himself. As Izuku be doing that, all of a sudden he would end up looking backwards, feeling a presence behind him. As there, he would end up seeing Momo jumping on right towards the device. As Izuku would end up turning backwards, feathers would just launch right out of Izuku's wings, launching towards Momo, pinning her by the shirt right onto the wall behind Izuku. With her pinned there, Izuku would walk up to her, slapping her neck, knocking her out with ease. With her now out of the way, it was now Izuku and Bakugo versus Todoroki. As Izuku and Todoroki would stare at each other with Izuku now on the roof, Todoroki knew there was really no chance he had without him just being able to freeze both his brother and Bakugo. So he would try exactly that, going to freeze them, which would work. However, with Izuku's wings, it would burn right through the ice. So with the ice melted, Izuku would easily take out, knocking out Todoroki, which now Todoroki defeated, as the match would end, as Izuku would smile knowing that his team had won. So they would walk back towards where All Might was, would end up congratulating them before telling them that they may now just sit down and watch the rest of the class. We'd time skip just about a day or so. As the class would end, the students would go home, go to bed, before coming back to school the next day. With the students now back from school, they would all walk to school, where they would end up finding out they were going on their very first field trip of the year. As all of the students would end up seeing that they were going on a field trip, they would end up smiling, knowing that this was hopefully going to be just a relaxing, easy day. Oh boy, did they not know what was going to come for them in the mere few hours that lay in their future. So as Aizawa would slowly stroll into class, he would casually just tell all of them, "Alright class, go put your hero costumes on, or your PE uniforms on. Doesn't really matter to me. Just go put one or the other on, head down to the bus bay, and get onto one of the buses. That's there. There should only be one." So all of the students would follow his directions. They would all go down to the bus bay, get onto the bus after changing, where the bus would then guide them off towards the USJ, the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, a building that was specially designed to allow students to get to know different scenarios that might occur during their hero career, and how they might just go about saving someone or defeating a villain in such a scenario or environment. So as all of the students would be walking in, just seeing all of this, they would end up knowing that hopefully it was going to be an easy day once again. Seeing all of the different environments, finally they would be greeted by the Hero 13. "Good morning, Class 1A. So, let's begin with the USJ, shall we?" 13 would say, opening up her arms, just showing them the different zones. "We have a very vast array of zones in this just building, all of which that are going to be designed to help you become a better hero. So that's our main goal here at UA. So, why don't we begin, shall we? So, down there's the water zone, over there it's the lava zone, and over there's the earthquake zone, fire zone, and yada yada yada. Wow, this place is amazing, some students would mutter under their breath, as finally a student would end up speaking up. Wow, they even have fake villains here too! This place is insane! Wait, what? Aizawa would say. And that is where part 3 of What If Deku Was a Phoenix comes to an end. I hope you all did enjoy it, and if you did, please consider subscribing, as it really does help this channel out, and you can even be notified when the other parts of this series do end up coming out. I thank you all for watching once again, and goodbye.